It's time to pull those belts tight, race fans. The front stretch is coming at you, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Dirk Houston.
Good morning, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. Karting with a K, kind of doing my best Good Morning Vietnam there. Not really my best. I kind of cut it off halfway through there, and I was like, I shouldn't do that. Welcome to the front stretch. Dirk Houston, Dan Taylor, joining you every Sunday morning here on AM 590 for the Metro's only all-racing talk show, and really the only source you're going to get for racing news. Unfortunately, the big news, as it is this time of year, it's football, and then a little bit of basketball, and then they'll finally get back to talking about racing. But a couple of things to talk about. We've got a quick turn one, and we've got a big show lined up for you today. Adam Armstrong will join us and talk about his 2015 track championship at Eagle Raceway in his hobby stock. Then we'll do the Kosiski Auto Parts Legends of the Dirt Series, interns 3 and 4. Bob Hill will join us to talk about his career. So a couple of things I wanted to get to. 17 hours of NASCAR is coming at you in 5 days. Christmas Day on Fox Sports 1. Did you look at that lineup they've got?
No, I didn't open the article. I did see the article, though, and didn't get a chance to read it yet. And I was like, boy, I don't even know if I can sit through 17 hours.
I'm going to give it my best shot, but my DVR is going to take care of a good portion of it. It kicks off at, I believe this is Eastern time, so keep that in mind when you're trying to calculate Central time. 6 o'clock is when it all kicks off, 6 a.m. Eastern time with Race Hub Best of the Year Radioactive for the first couple of races, and then for the next several hours, they keep going through the best radioactive material throughout the year. The scanner sounds, the audio from the tracks, and those are a lot of fun to listen to. And then at 9 a.m. is the Masters of the Clock, the Legends of Martinsville. Then it's One Hot Night. Upcoming, or Uncompromising. It was a special they did a couple of months ago on Kevin Harvick. That was a great special they did on the history of Kevin Harvick. Then Being Stewart, Haas Racing is the next feature. Then it continues more Race Hub stuff. Continuing on through the afternoon into the late evening, the best of the roundtables, and then looks like a perfect storm at 6:30 be a good one to watch. The 1979 Daytona 500, and then the full Daytona 500 after that. No, it looks like a half-hour special on that. And then the replay of the 2015 Daytona 500 will kick off at 8 o'clock and end 11 o'clock. So that'll be 17 hours of NASCAR programming on Fox Sports 1. Great to hear that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'll have to get that article out because I'll pick and choose out of that because I really don't care to see this past Daytona 500 again.
Yeah, well, you all know my feelings on the super speedway race, and we don't need to get back into that. Well, we got about another minute left before we have to head over into turn 2 and talk to Adam Armstrong about his track championship at Eagle Raceway. There was a poll that came out, sponsored by Dodge City Raceway Park. It was the fastest 305s in the nation, and several Midwesterns took the title, or took top 10, top 15, top 20 positions, including Jason Martin finished 9th out of Liberal, Kansas. We got Trevor Grossenbacher out of Holland, Nebraska was 13th. There's a lot of guys in here. Adam Gullion was 20th, so I don't have time to go through the entire list, but you can find it on the Facebook page from on the Front Stretch's Facebook page. And then the last article I wanted to cover was, finally, I saw some good news out of Roush Fenway Racing. We've been talking about it for a long time. Talent's not their issue. It's engineer and it's behind-the-scenes shop personnel that is really keeping this organization from being good.
I've just fallen behind.
And I saw this article. They've made some changes to help their competition effort, and one of them was Kurt Romberg, who spent 15 years heading up the aerodynamics at Hendrick Motorsports, joins the team as technical director of aerodynamics. And I got excited about that, and then I hate to be a downer, but then I stopped myself because I looked at it and said, well, he's been doing it for 15 years, and quite frankly, there's a reason why Hendrick let him go.
They might not have let him go. I mean,
there might have been
a huge pay increase, but don't expect things to happen overnight because he's heading to a different car. He's going from the GM to the Ford.
Right, and it's going to take a lot of study to find out how that thing works with the front end of this. Even though the rest of the body is pretty much the same, it's that front end that's really the big difference, and that's huge. Looks and for aero too. Dr. Kent Day will serve as manager of simulation for the day of. He holds a PhD in mechanics Mechanical Engineering from Clemson University. And then I'm not even going to bother to try to say this name because it's, you know me and names. I have John Smith issues at times. This name is just bad, but he returns to Roush Fenway Racing as Research and Developmental Special Projects Manager after serving a similar position at Michael Waltrip Racing and Joe Gibbs Racing. So, you know, maybe there's some good signs. I don't know if they'll be able to come in and make a big difference for 2016, but maybe you'll start seeing some changes in 2017 and 2018.
But again, the last one you're talking about going from Toyotas with Gibbs and Waltrip to Fords, so it's not going to happen overnight. But they sound like good people, sound like they got good background, so it's got to be a plus.
We'll take a break. We'll come back in turn number 2. We'll talk with Adam Armstrong about his track championship at Eagle Raceway. Stan Cesar will join us, and then in turn number 3, we'll talk with Bob Hill for the Kosiski Auto Parts Legends of the Dirt Series. A lot of show left to come here on the Front Stretch.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
This is Andrew from Kosiski Auto Parts. Kosiski Auto Parts is an insurance-quality used parts supplier that can match your foreign or domestic car or truck needs. If you have a damaged or broke-down car or truck, we guarantee a clean and quality part in next-day fashion. Kosiski Auto Parts, your neighborhood premium recycled parts supplier. Call any Kosiski Auto Parts salesman today by dialing 402-731-4592 or visit us at 5040 I Street in Omaha. Kosiski Auto Parts, our quality used parts will match your car or truck's needs.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the Front Stretch. Heading into turn number 2, ready to talk to a local track champion at Eagle Raceway in the Hobby Stock division, Adam Armstrong for the IMCA Hobby Stocks. Adam, congratulations on your 2015 track championship at Eagle Raceway.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We had Stan Cesar join us in the studio tonight. He got to watch you every single week. I only got to watch you a couple of times. I know I talked to you that Saturday night at I-80 Speedway. You came out for the Cornhusker Classic and really put on a heck of a show.
Yeah, those two tracks, I-80, Eagle, I really enjoy racing at both of them. They're both a real challenging track, and the promoters that run both of them, Roger and then the Kosiskis, they do a really great job. But, two of my favorite tracks, definitely.
And 2 totally different tracks.
Yeah.
Yes. One's bigger, They both have pretty good banking, but both very fast.
We were talking before we hit the record button that you were kind of a bit you were in love with that high side at Eagle Raceway. Was that kind of where you made your hay at I-82?
I-80, the thing about that track is, there isn't really just one preferred line. I've won races running the bottom, the middle, and the top, but, it seems like on this hobby stock class, we don't have a lot of power under the hood. So if you can make your car stick through the corner, and, the main thing is keeping up your speed, not killing your speed.
The momentum.
Yep, the momentum racing, So I think, in our class, it seems like the high side is definitely the preferred line.
Well, are you running a crate motor or are you running a good old claimer?
Oh, a good old claimer. My dad builds great ones.
Well, I mean, it does make a big difference between that claimer because that 4-barrel that you can run with that crate motor, don't they allow a 4-barrel on those, I think?
On the Sport Mod class, yes. The Sport Mod class, you can run a 4-barrel. And that does, that kind of makes up for a little bit of, them crate motors with the 4-barrel. They've got a lot of get up and go when they need it, where the open motors in the Sport Mod class only gets to run a 2-barrel. So you got to have your stuff really dialed in good. Where that crate motor kind of makes it easy.
Gives it a little more acceleration when you need it.
That's right.
Well, there's a lot more bottom end with that 4-barrel is what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
If you're running that 2-barrel, those little Rochesters, you got to keep the high side running because that's where your momentum's going to stay. You got to keep it wound up.
Well, I'll tell you what, talk about the competition just a little bit at Eagle Raceway. Probably in the last 5 or 6 years, since the hobby stocks in the Roger Hayden era, probably one of the toughest tracks to win at. And I hate to say it, but you made it look awful easy last year.
Yeah, and that's weird, really. I have. I've run good at Eagle, but I've always had just terrible luck. And this year, things were just clicking I think we had 4 in a row there through June, and but it's not easy. I'll tell you, it's not. Having to race, especially my dad. My dad, he's got, I think, 4 championships in the last 5-6 years there at Eagle. So he's always been the one to beat. And and Chad Fagley, he came on really good this year. I think he won 3 in a row. Carter. There's a lot of guys that stepped up. When I started winning races, they didn't back down and just let me keep having them. They kept pushing me, and they got better.
What they say, in order to get faster, you need to race with the faster guys. And when you showed up and start kicking some tail there on a regular basis, it made those guys raise their game just a little bit, just to keep up with you.
Yep, and I like seeing that. That kind of reminds me of when I was racing Minneapolis, Kansas in 2011. It was kind of that way. They'd all just kind of race the same group of guys for years, and no one else had really come in. And I kind of put them in their place and let them see that they really weren't as good as they thought they were. But by the end of the year, they were beating me. So that's. I do enjoy seeing that. I do enjoy seeing them guys have to push themselves a little bit harder and try things and change things. And, I'm not afraid to help people. If anybody's got a question, I always try and help them. That's not how my dad raised me. He's always been the one to help out and give advice, and, that's how I am. Anybody that's got a question. Rick Bradley, he came up to me quite a bit. Shively, he really improved quite a bit throughout the year. I was pretty impressed with him.
I'll tell you what, Rookie of the Year candidate, I think, for sure.
Yep, definitely. But it was really fun. I definitely, this was the most fun I've ever had while running for points. Usually they're really stressful. Trying to just maintain your points and stuff, but. It was a really, really fun season. Even getting wrecked, getting black flag. It was still all fun.
Well, you touched on that just a little bit. Some of your toughest competition being your dad. And not really knowing for sure if you were going to run for the season points, because I think at the beginning of the year you didn't know for sure. And then you had an incident down at Beatrice. Involved in an accident with your dad, and I know you felt really badly about that, and we're considering throwing the towel in for the rest of the year. And I think speaking for myself and everybody, all the fans down there, they're certainly glad you didn't.
Yeah, that was pretty tough. Being the reason. That your dad had a really nasty wreck. I was ready to be done, and the next day he called me and he said, I really need you to go and race tonight. And I told him, I said, I have no intentions to. After last night, I need to sit out. And he's like, it would really mean a lot to me if you would come and race tonight. And I ended up winning the feature. And I'll never forget, after the race, my dad came over and he gave me a big old hug, and that meant a lot. Just to have the support, and I've never had anything like that happen, and to have the support from my dad and my family too, to keep pushing me, because they knew that I had. I've always got a really good fan base and family and stuff behind me, but this year was just different. They seen the year I had been having at Eagle, and there was just no way that they could let me just throw it away. So I definitely got to thank all of them for pushing me and keep me going, and it was well worth it.
Well, I've known your dad, for quite a number of years, and I got to say, probably one of the nicest guys you ever want to meet. Soft-spoken, and he lets his driving do the talking for about 95% of the time.
Oh, definitely. I think he's been through about everything you could go through at Eagle Raceway. I don't think he's rolled yet at Eagle, but I think he's gone through about everything else.
Well, let's knock on some wood and make sure that doesn't happen.
Yes, but he's been claimed at Eagle, carburetors, motors. He's been wrecked. But no matter what, by the end of the night, he's got a smile on.
Exactly.
That shows a lot about his character. And through all of them instances and stuff of being claimed and all that, he's never retaliated. And he's got a lot of patience, and he does. He lets it all out on the track. He'll flat out, if you want to claim me, that's fine. I'll just beat you next week, and that's just how he's been. And he'll be 55 next year. And you don't see many guys 55 years old up on the high side like that at Eagle Raceway. So it's definitely impressive.
Hey, Adam, with that being said, who's your hero in racing?
Well, that's my dad. Definitely.
And I'll tell you what, the apple don't fall far from the tree there, because you kind of follow in his footsteps, and you're a really likable guy, and you got a great fan base up there in the stands every Saturday night.
Well, I appreciate it. I've definitely had a good leader to look at. You know, I remember sitting in the stands myself. You know, and you know, it's really fun. You know, to be able to, you know, I got my little boy now, and you know, just to, you know, be able to see him, you know, right after the races and stuff. You know, he knows what's going on. He knows which car I am, and you know, and it's really cool to be able to experience all that too with my own son now.
How much did having your son change your driving style?
Well, it's changing my driving style. I don't know if it changed a lot. I'm still, you know, pretty aggressive, but it made me, you know, keep my cool. You know, I can't be out there making a fool of myself, you know, wrecking people, retaliating. You know, I can't be doing all that stuff when I got my son up in the stands. So it's definitely made me mellow, you know, and let things go. You know, if something does happen on the track, I can definitely keep my cool a lot better than what I had in the past. You know, it's definitely been for the good, for sure, having him at the races.
I think that makes you a better driver in the long run.
Yeah, exactly. More respected, too.
Is it just me, or is it a little bit more relaxed in the hobby stock division? And I'm kind of going back to, you were talking about, you know, your dad's a very calm, cool, collect guy, and you just try to go out there and have fun. But I was really impressed with the Saturday night race at the Cornhusker Classic, and you and Jason Cole and Fager, right?
There was me and Cole and gosh darn it, I can't remember who.
Wasn't it the 04?
04.
He had a white car, but anyways, you guys had it was a spirited battle the entire race. Yep. It was you three had separated yourself from the rest of the pack. There was a little bit of rubbing, there was a little bit of banging, and the rest of the night I had kind of eased my way into the post-tech inspection area, because there was a little bit of heated arguments going on in other divisions. But man, as soon as you guys pulled your helmets off, all three of you looked like a Joker with this giant smile and laughing and joking and carrying on, and just say, man, that was great. And I was really impressed with you guys and the way you guys you took it as a good old racing experience.
Yep, and it's like that when you know, you've got guys in the class that have been racing. You know, like I've been racing pretty much hobbies my whole career. Jason Cole has been running hobbies, you know, his whole career. You know, and you know, he's one of the greats in the class. You know, he is really competitive. You know, and when we go out and have a race like that, you know, it came down to the final corner. And, you know, that is fun, you know. You know, in the past I might have been a little upset, but, you know, I got to look at the fact that, you know, we just put on a heck of a show for the fans, and it was fun. You know, I would have liked to win, but it was still a really good race. And, you know, to see his reaction, too, come over and thank me for, you know, for racing him clean and not wrecking him or, you know, anything like that, you know, that meant a lot to me. And, but yeah, the hobby stock class, you know, we go hard. You know, we don't have things that allow us to have a big advantage over one another. So the racing is very close in our class because the rules are so tight. So, you know, there's always really good racing, and you got to go out and flat out earn it and, you know, drive your butt off. And that's what I've loved about the hobby stock classes. You know, it makes you, you know, a better driver. You know, any of the guys that have moved up out of the hobby stock classes, like, for instance, Jesse Saubing, Chris Abelson, they both ran hobby stocks when they started their career, and now look at them. You know, it's a really good starting class to come out of, and now I see the Bade girls are going to start in the hobby, so that's good. You know, it doesn't teach you any bad habits at all. You know, it covers all aspects. You know, the throttle, you know, the steering, and you know, just getting out there and getting to know the, you know, the track conditions and the flags. You know, it's just a good class to start in. I'm definitely with you there. The Sport Compacts is a great division, and a lot of the youngsters get started in that deal. But I think you can learn some bad habits in the Sport Compacts that once you get in a rear-wheel drive, bigger car, you have to unlearn some of that stuff. And going forward, I think it's a great beginning class. And when you were talking about the toughness of the competition,
I was going to use the word intense, because even though it is fun, it's probably some of the most intense racing that you're going to find down there. And not to mention the fact that how many nights you guys go green, white, checkered and get the free pass into the pits the following week. It's not a crash fest, by no means, because sometimes you guys are definitely, if not the biggest, one of the higher car counts of all the classes we race down there. Usually at least 4 heat races, and into the higher 30s or lower 40s in car count, and pretty tough field to win against.
Yes, it is, and as a like I said, chasing points, that can be almost a bit of a struggle going into the night, seeing that there's going to be 40 cars here, so if I miss my, if I have a bad heat race, it's going to be a long night, but you can't let that get to you, and that's what the guys that win championships at Eagle Raceway, with having that higher car count, there is no doubt that they earned it. I mean, there's going to be nights, look at what happened in the Sport Mod class, both them guys, Lighting and Benji Legg, they both were in B features many times throughout the year, but it's them nights that you go through a B feature and come through the A feature and have a good finish. That's what makes you a champion.
Let's shift gears just a little bit. Very few people, your dad, I think, always built his own cars, and you guys are great fabricators. And talk about the car building end of that deal. That's something that you're doing for a living, and helping a lot of other guys get fast as well as your own family.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that I'm kind of. I mean, it is, but it isn't. My dad, he's always built his own race cars, and I finally got to build my own in 2011, and it was just the things that I had learned watching and helping my dad, and just trying different stuff, and so we've just we've always built our own cars and on our own motors. 2012, I got hooked up with Jet, and I got into a Jet car, and I've been driving a Jet car ever since then. And the opportunity came along for me to start building them for Jet, and built quite a few cars. Well, then this year I told John, I said, I can build you a better car, and he let me do it. So I finally got to build a car for Jet Racing that we sell. It's called the Jet Strong Chassis, and it's a combination of what John was doing and what I would do to my own car. And so far it's been working out really well, and it's definitely a humble feeling when you go out and win in a car that you built yourself, but it's also a humble feeling watching other guys win in a car you built too, and I take a lot of satisfaction out of that too. But it's definitely been good. Business is great. I think I've already built 10 cars for 2016, which is way ahead of where we were a year ago, and I think I got another 6 or 7 to build yet, and that's not counting John's going to keep selling them too. So I'm definitely busy, and it's been great.
Let's talk about your 2016 season as we've got just a few minutes left. Hobby stocks or sport mods? What's your direction?
Or both?
Both.
I mean, I got a brand new 2016 Jet Sport mod. I just got it out to the shop tonight. I'm going to run that just kind of wherever. Not really going to have a track I race that at, but I'm going to go back to Eagle Raceway and try and run for another championship in the hobby stock division. I got a brand new car we're going to build. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be nice to be able to just kind of hit wherever I want with the sport mod. Just kind of experience. I think that's my next step is to go and start doing that full time. But we're just going to kind of ease our way into it, and I really like racing the hobby stock class, and since I build them, it's good for the business too.
Adam Armstrong, Eagle Raceway 2015 champion. Congratulations, bud. Best of luck in 2016.
Thank you very much.
All right, man. See you at the banquet.
Thanks, Adam.
All right.
Have a good one. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you very much, guys.
Bye.
We'll see you.
We got to wrap it up quick. Stan, thank you so much for joining us to help interview Adam Armstrong. I'm sure you can get a hold of Adam on Facebook if you want to race one of his, what do you call it, the
Jet
Strong chassis for the hobby stocks. We got to take a break. We'll come back in turn number 3, the Kosiski Auto Parts Legends of the Dirt Series. Bob Hill will join us to talk about his career. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Heading into turn number 3, it's time for the Kosiski Auto Parts Legends of the Dirt series, brought to you by Kosiski Auto Parts, 51st and I Street in Omaha. The Legends of the Dirt series, we've been doing that for the last couple of weeks. This weekend, we're talking with Bob Hill, who started his career throughout the Midwest. Bob, can you talk about the beginning of your career and really what kind of pushed you towards racing?
I was just a gearhead, motorhead in high school, kind of like everybody else probably was. And my cousin, Tom Hill, was racing at the Hamilton County Speedway, so I used to go over, ride my bicycle over there, and watch him work on their stock car. And my other cousin, Dan Norris, built a stock car. That was back when there were 56, 57 Chevys. That was the late model class, and they were pretty stock. And just progressed through my interest in cars in high school. And a classmate of mine wanted to build a stock car when we were, I think, like seniors. And I helped him out with that. And then he went on to own Arnie Bralen's car, and we helped him work on that. So this was back in, 73, 4. And one night, Arnie couldn't drive, and Gary Frisk was the car owner, and he wanted to go racing, so he's like, hey, you want to drive? And that's how it started. We went to Stewart Speedway.
Were you kind of chomping at the bit to get behind the wheel to start with it, or was it kind of a surprise when he said, all right, you're driving?
Well, kind of wanted to, but, geez, what a first night. I'm surprised that I wanted to try to do it again.
Did you have a bad night?
Well, I didn't fit in the car. Arnie was like 6'6" and way over 200 pounds, and he didn't have power steering. I think it was a Sanger car, and he'd like straight arm too with this little steering wheel. So
he's pushed way back.
Yeah, and so we stacked boat cushions behind me, boat cushions underneath me, and strapped in, and I think I hit about every car out there.
Oh.
This is on a little quarter mile at Stewart?
Yes, and I ended up winning the B main, but I had a bunch of guys mad at me.
Well, don't worry. There's still guys today that have plenty of experience, and they're still going out and hitting everybody on the track, so...
Yeah, I see that.
So how did it grow after that? You had a bad first night, but somehow you got back in the car, you kept at it, you kept working on it?
Well, we kept helping work on the car. I think we built the motors for him. We had our own, me and a partner had a repair shop, and we did the motors, and we helped him work on the car, and I don't know, we just decided, my dad and us decided that was going to kind of be a family project. So we ended up buying a used car, and we just started racing it ourselves.
How much did racing take over? Did everything else go second fiddle from there on out, or was it a gradual progression?
Pretty much took over. I was, I'm obsessed with doing the best I could at, whatever I did, and I noticed a lot of guys worked on the car when they got to the racetrack, and I didn't want to do that. So I tried to be as prepared as possible and, just learn the ropes. I obviously didn't know what I was doing when I started, and just gradually following people and figuring out how to do it, just learned on the go. I started in a late model. I don't recommend doing that, but, I never started in a street stock or a modified. I didn't even have those back then.
Why wouldn't you recommend starting in a late model?
It's just, I think you'd be frustrated because it's pretty fast, and it's pretty expensive, and you just get gobbled up, I think.
On the competition level?
Yes, the competition level, definitely. No no comparison. You know?
Well, and if you're brand new to it, you really don't know what adjustments the car needs because you've never been in one.
No, didn't have a clue. I remember running around the pits, guys getting out of their cars and knew exactly what to do with their cars, and we were going, geez, how do they know that? How did Del McDowell at Boone, he was really good, and he could get right out of the car, tell them what to do, and we were just, I was just very observant, tried to just soak in as much as I could.
Go back to, you talked about how you would get to the track and there'd be some guys that are still working on their car, and you didn't like that. I've heard 100 times as a part of this Legends of the Dirt series that championships are won in the shop because you got to get your work done in the shop ahead of time. You can't be going to the track working on the car. You've got to tweak the car when you get there.
Absolutely. I remember Denny Osborne bolted the hood on his car. He's just like, if I have to take it off, we're going to load it on the trailer. I'm like, what are you doing?
Well, that's one way, I guess.
Yeah. He was just like so insistent that he was going to be prepared that he didn't even have hood pins.
Early on,
go
ahead.
I just say absolutely right. Preparation is everything at every level. I don't care what you're racing, or no matter what it is. If you're not prepared before you get there, it's not going to happen. You're not going to have much success.
So talk to me about your racing career early on. Was it a 1 night a week, 2 night a week? Did you race as much as you possibly could?
I think we were like early on, we were just like maybe going 1 night a week. And then once I started getting the hang of it, then it was 3 nights a week. You know how it was in the Midwest and Iowa. In the middle of the summer, you could race about every night of the week, depending on where you wanted to go. But I raced 3 nights a week, probably for a long time, until I started running a touring series. Then I backed way off of that.
Hey, Bob, speak to us a little bit about the competition level. You talking about late models in Iowa in the late 70s and early 80s. That was some tough drivers.
Yeah, it was. They didn't take kindly to somebody new coming in either. I mean, they played it. It's funny how it evolved when I started. It was just nothing to mowing you out of the way. And if you misbehave, they just took you out. So I learned that pretty quick. I remember following Denny Hovengate one night, and I was a lot faster than him, and it was probably my first or second year. And I just kind of ran into him in the middle of every corner, and because he was about stopping, and he still beat me. But by golly, the next race, as soon as he got behind me, around I went. So I guess you don't do that anymore.
A lot came of the NASCAR series this year with the whole Matt Kenseth and Joey Logano situation. I don't know how much you follow NASCAR, but the conversation in the pits after that was the driver code. Was there a code back then?
Sure.
It still wasn't new enough. So do you think he would have still spun you if you'd have gone and talked to him after the race and said, "Hey, I'm sorry, I hit you because you were slower, but if you'd have got out of my way or picked up your pace, we wouldn't have had that problem"?
He might not have, but of course I didn't go talk to him.
Yeah, that's all a part of the learning.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. You race people how they raced you, and like you say, you got to have respect, and if you don't get it, honestly, I watched the whole Matt Kenseth thing, and a lot of people didn't like it, but I didn't blame him a bit.
See,
he had to do something.
I think a lot of people liked that he wrecked Joey Logano. I think he gained a whole lot of fans that day.
So he doubled his fan base with that.
Yes, he did.
Nothing against Joey Logano. I mean,
right.
Superstar now.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't start out that way, but geez, they kept forgetting to mention that if Matt would have won that race, he'd have been in the chase.
Yeah.
And Joey was already in, and all he had to do was not wreck him, but he wrecked him when he was leading the race, and he would have been in the chase. So to me, more power to him.
So
that didn't bother me a bit.
We established that Denny Hovengate was not one to use the chrome horn on too much, or he'd get you back. Who was another guy that you kind of you made sure and leave a little bit of distance between your bumper and his bumper.
Well, you just gained respect, tried to, just through all of them, I remember Bob Shryock, man, he was my buddy when I first started. You know how Bob could tell stories, and he could hold a crowd, and man, he was bending over backwards trying to help me, trying to get me, but the day I was competitive with him, that was all done.
I've heard that. I've only been in the sport for a couple of years, but I've heard that so many times that when that veteran driver is helping the young kid and he beats him, the first thing out of his mouth is, "I'm not parking near you. I'm done working with you."
Yep, that was it. First time I beat him, no more help. Then we were arch rivals from then on.
What was the pressure like early on to succeed? Did you put pressure on yourself? Did your car owners put pressure on you, or was it just go out and have fun?
Well, we owned our own car for probably first 10, 15 years or so that I raced, and then I started driving for Howard in like '85. But no, it was just fun. I mean, we were just me and my buddies. We were, we'd work on the car, go to the racetrack, race, and we'd drink beer afterwards.
Only afterwards.
Afterwards. And then, we go do it again the next night, and then the next night, and it was just fun. I never had any, I didn't know how far it would go. It's just, we're just having a good time.
So let me back it up one more time real quick. I always like to kind of try to educate some of the younger drivers that they're kind of trying to find their way through the sport as they're racing once a week. So when you're back racing just once a week and you're talking about championships or one in the shop, how long are you spending in the shop? Is it a couple hours every night? Is it a couple hours a week? How long are you in the shop working on that car?
I used to call it the second shift. I worked till probably 10 o'clock every night for 20 years that I drove late miles.
So what did you do? I mean, there's only so much you could do to a car. Guys, educate me here a little bit.
You unbolt everything and bolt it back on.
No, just you get tore up. You got to fix stuff.
Okay.
It's just a constant. It's something's wrong. After the race, you can't just. Rarely can you just wash it off. You gotta. There's maintenance and fixing damage and something started leaking, and there's just always something. Something on the trailers broke, or there's just was always something to fix or do.
Hey, how far were you into your career when you and Mark Ludwig hooked up?
He started helping me when I started driving for Howard, and so I would have been 1985. So I had raced probably 10 years, and he was helping. I feel bad. I can't think of the guy he was helping. Somebody in the sportsman division, and I think they had quit, and we became friends through friends, and he was interested in it, and then he started going along, and then man, he stayed with me till the end.
Yeah.
Lot good help, good guy.
Mm-hmm. That he is.
Bob, would you say when you went to the JD1 car, I think we all remember that. When we think of Bob Hill, we think of the JD1 car, certainly on the Midwest Tour. Was that a big jump up for you?
That was a big jump up in equipment.
And a pocketbook, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, before that, I'd get accused. I mean, my guys would get so mad at me because I wouldn't buy tires. I would re-groove them. I'd run them bald and then groove them again. I mean, I was just paying the bills out of my pocket. And I used to go to the local bank, Stanhope Bank, and borrow money every year to go race. I don't think they do that now. But, used to do that to go through late mile racing. And so I was very conservative. And the funny part was every time we buy a new tire, I'd usually win that night. So they'd like, see? But still, it was just, I was running big blocks and putting 30-some nights on the motor before I'd freshen it, and I just felt if I could just get in a good car that we could do some damage, and and that's kind of what happened.
We're talking with Bob Hill as a part of the Kosiski Auto Parts Legends of the Dirt series. This year, Bob's one of our features. We've got a lot more still to come. Dale McDowell's going to be next weekend. Daniel Lasowski in a couple of weekends. We've already talked to Larry Eckrich and Larry Moore. We'll be talking with Bob Hill just a little bit more as we take a quick break here on the front stretch. We'll be back in turn number 4 to wrap up the Legends of the Dirt series presented by Kosiski Auto Parts here on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
We have all been there before. Broken car part in your hand and some snot-nosed punk behind the counter has no idea what he is talking about, but he guarantees that this part will fix your car. You pay an arm and a leg for the replacement, get it home, and sure enough, it doesn't fit your car. Now, learn from your mistake and give an experienced salesperson at Kosiski Auto Parts a call today at 402-731-4592. Kosiski Auto Parts will get you back on the road with your arms and legs still attached.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter turn 4 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Heading back into the front stretch. This is turn number 4, about ready to wrap up the Kosiski Auto Parts Legends of the Dirt series. Turn 4 brought to you by Quaker Steak and Lube, the official watering hole of the front stretch. Get to Quaker Steak and Lube today for all the NFL action. You can catch it every day. It seems like football action pretty much every day now that we're in bowl season. Right in the middle of December. So make sure you get over to Quaker Steak and Lube and enjoy all the action you want to, plus trivia night every Wednesday night. Dirk and I pretty much reigning champions. We would love a team to come down and at least try to beat us. You can do that on Wednesday nights. Trivia night, it's free to play. You can win up to a $25 gift card from Quaker Steak and Lube. Get to Quaker Steak and Lube today. Council Plus for all the fun and the action. Continuing our Kosiski Auto Parts Legends of the Dirt series, we're talking with Bob Hill for the Legends today. And Bob, what would you say would be probably your best win or most gratifying win you've had?
Oh, man. Gosh. Well, there's always your first one.
Yeah.
So I remember that. And
were you surprised when you got that first win?
No.
Was it coming?
I just dream about it. You know, it's all you think about.
Yeah.
And I think it took me, 2 or 3 years. And it was at the Hamilton County Speedway, kind of my hometown track, 4th of July. And it was actually, the track was tacky, so I hadn't learned my dry slick skills yet, but I could hammer down when it was tracky, and of course, low in points. So I started up front and just checked out.
Nice.
Won the race, so that was cool.
What about another one that maybe somebody that you'd always looked up to, you were able to finally beat him? Maybe it was someone like Bob Shryock or one of those legends out there that you've looked up to in the pits that you were finally able to beat?
Well, I tell you, another, anytime you win a Busch All-Star Tour race was big. And again, my first one, that was out in, Illinois somewhere. And I'll never forget winning at Omaha. That is tough. And I couldn't, I only go there once a year, and I could not figure that place out. And we won a Busch Tour race there, 100 lapper. So that was way cool.
Actually, Bob, you did pretty good in the Busch All-Star Tour in Nebraska. You won at Sunset, Mid-Continent, Beatrice, and Eagle. So you must have liked coming over here.
Yes, we sure did. And what we liked the most was Kosiski territory.
I knew that was coming.
Now, be careful what you say. They're the title sponsor of this here Legends of the Dirt series.
I always told everybody the only way to beat all three of them is you had to win the race. And that was a fact.
That's
no matter where you went, if you expected to beat all three Kosiski brothers, you better probably win. I raced against the old man, too, when I started.
Well, I remember your win at Eagle. That was against Steve Kosiski right at the end.
And
that about got ugly afterwards.
Yeah, that wasn't very popular.
No, it wasn't.
local fan, but I remember that well too, and I felt bad, but that was I wouldn't do it any different though. I mean, It was last lap. I mean, it was coming off of the 4, going for the checkers, and I'm drifting out against the wall like I did the whole race, dry slick there. And all of a sudden, I feel somebody. Nobody told me. My spotters, they were, you know how they sometimes decide what they're going to tell you and not what they're going to tell you. I thought
they neglected that, huh?
They neglected to tell me that, you know, that Steve had closed in, and you know, I felt somebody, and I was like, well, I ain't lifting now. And you know, he got into the fence, and but I just wasn't going to lift at that time. And checkered flag's waving, man. I'd have left it down if I had slid across on my lid.
Yeah, there's not much room between turn 4 and the checkered flag there at Eagle. So
no, it really narrows down there. But yeah, we had a good rivalry. Steve and I became good friends. Joe and I's rivalry probably went on a lot longer. Speaking of Joe, I don't know how many times we went to Park Jefferson, South Dakota, and I always ran good there. And I swear, I don't know, we'd have to look at the records, but I think every time we went there, he won and I got second. Every time. So anyway, we had a. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna move on to another subject, but talk to me about your driving style. Were you aggressive the whole race? Were you laid back? Were you easygoing at the beginning, and then as soon as you saw that white flag, it was all rules out the window? I'm gonna win this thing.
I don't know what you'd call my style. I mean, you know, when you got local on your, you know, weekend races, those are only 25 laps, and they always, inverted the field. So I usually started last. So you had to go. And that's just what I took into when I started running the touring series is, you know, the same deal. I just had to go, and then, you know, like the Busch All-Star Tour, we all raced pretty darn clean in that series because, you know, you had to fix your car, and a lot of times we were heading someplace else to race the next night. So everybody, it was kind of a family group because it was kind of the same group of guys running all over the Midwest, racing the locals wherever we went. So, you know, I don't know what I'd call my style. I just tried to get to the front and check out if I could.
What was your scariest moment behind a wheel?
I don't know. I got knocked out once at Hamilton County Speedway. My steering wheel come off. It was one of those muddy nights in the pits, and got in, you know, with the steering wheel still on, trying to take, you know, scrape the mud off and pull up the top of the wheel instead of the center of the wheel. And I think the second lap of the race, we were coming off of turn 4, and I was up front, and my wheel come off. And I woke up underneath the flag stand. The car was totaled, and it wrecked a couple other cars too. So that was a pretty bad deal.
That's a frightening thing when you wake up like that, because you're pretty, you know, discombobulated when you wake up for the first 2 minutes from being knocked out. You're not really quite sure what's going on.
Yeah, didn't even know what it was. We kind of had like tunnel vision for a while. I should have went to the hospital, but I didn't. You know, the tough guy. You know.
How many times did you say that in your career? I probably should have gone to the hospital, but I didn't.
Just that time, and then the crash at Daytona in the ARCA car was pretty scary.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that one.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you're just hoping you get through it, and it seemed like it lasts forever. And, you know, actually I got hurt worse in the late model than I did in that crash.
There you
go.
That ARCA race at Daytona, what kind of speeds are you guys running there?
Oh, I think we qualified. I mean, they all determined it by restrictor plate. I mean, the first time I went down there, we ran like 191 average, I think. So it was about the same as the Cup cars, and that was on the last lap of the race, and got caught up in it. They started wrecking in front of me, and that's what happened. Got turned around, hit the apron going backwards, and it just took off.
Was that your only race at Daytona in the ARCA Series?
Oh, no, I'd raced there probably 4 times. When that happened, that was probably my 3rd time there. So I got, first time I was there, I think I finished 7th, and then I got 5th the next time, and then actually that time when I crashed, I finished 14th.
Well, not a bad finish.
Yeah, last car on the lead lap or something like that. I don't know.
Hey, Bob, did you run a Rolex Grand Am race there on the road course?
I did, and that was, it was Al McBride, who I worked with at Sabco, was building cars, was kind of doing rent-a-ride thing, and he had some guys that wanted to go run the 24 hours. And you could go run a, what they call it, Nationwide or Xfinity Series or whatever, Grand National, that type of car, they would let you run that. So he built the car, and he wanted me to come help this guy get acclimated to it and, shake it down and go out and run it. So I kind of started the race for him, and then we'll let that guy in it. And then I tell you, I gained a whole new respect for those guys that run the road course there, because obviously I'm not a road racer.
Yep.
And that was probably the 2nd time I had ever run a road course, and that is pretty wild and different. And I enjoy watching the 24 hours of Daytona now since I've been on that track.
What's been your favorite thing to race?
I like dirt late models.
Is that just because you've been doing it the longest, or you get the best feel for it?
Most success.
I don't know. You can. It seems like, I've done it the longest, and I'm the most comfortable in it. But you have more control over, like, if your car's not right, you've got more options of how you approach it, how you drive it, than a pavement car. If your car's wrong on an asphalt car, ARCA, NASCAR, or whatever, there's not a hell of a lot you can do, until you can come in and make adjustments on it. But at least with a dirt car, you can drive it in, you can back it in, you can coast in, you can. And it's just, I just enjoyed that type of racing because that's where I came from.
Whenabouts was it? Wasn't it about 96 or so when you went ahead and moved up to North Carolina to give the big leagues a shot?
I moved here in 97 and started working for Sabco Racing and was on the road as their, what do they call them, car chief now, but one of the lead mechanic or whatever. And I kind of had a ride lined up when I moved out here in the Busch car, but that fell through. So didn't race a lot after I moved out here. I ran Rula Brothers, ran me, I'll say 2, 3, 4 times on the dirt miles. And then I went to Frank Kimmel got hurt. I think he crashed at Daytona in practice. So they flew me down there to qualify his car and then run his car. I think that was like in 98. And I ran Charlotte in like 01. And that was for helping Kimmel in that deal in Daytona. That was them paying me back. So I ran his backup car there.
When we talk about late model racing today, I think the biggest expense people talk about is shocks. Was it the same back then, or was there a bigger expense other than shocks back when you were racing them?
Shocks were not the deal when I was racing them. Probably the engines. Engines and tires. And then when you went with the Busch All-Star Tour with the McCurry, I think it was EC2s, that helped a ton on the tire bill. But when you ran UMP and the tires were pretty much unlimited and you could run about any compound, that was really expensive.
Yeah.
And then going to that tire rule, actually those guys would try to come in and race with us, and they couldn't do it because it's just a whole different animal running on that hard compound tire rule. So
we've been talking. Sorry, go ahead.
Our shocks weren't that expensive, at least the ones that I ran. Even when I ran ARCA, I didn't have expensive shocks. We just ran off-the-shelf Bilsteins.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Dirk, but I think the biggest problem with shocks today is you got to have so many. You got to have about 30 in your hauler, it seems like.
Well, and that's just because, they're all rebuildable, and a lot of these dirt late model guys anymore actually have a shock dyno with them, but you can't rebuild 4 shocks, in 15 minutes. Yeah. So it's better to have something close and just pull it off the rack.
Yeah, I had a little inventory, but it wasn't terrible expensive. I think I ran AFCO. I don't think they were rebuildable, but all aluminum. We ran coilovers, of course, on the late model. But I would start with a basic setup and then tweak it there. I never throw 4 shocks at it. I'd maybe change 1 shock or 1 spring. And tire stagger was a lot of it. But the shock deal wasn't a big deal. It was probably just the engine expense.
We've been talking with Bob Hill as a part of the Kosiski Auto Parts Legends of the Dirt series. We've talked about your career and your history in dirt racing. So what are you up to these days?
I am retired. I'm out living by the coast, taking care of a couple properties that we own and working on the house, working on some stuff out in my shop.
Are you helping anybody with their race programs or any kind of anything like that?
Not really. I haven't even found a dirt track out here.
Oh, that's
otherwise I'd be there. I probably have something built.
Yeah, just build one. Listen, I heard a lot of these promoters, they make a lot of money in the dirt track business.
Yeah,
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, right.
All right, Bob Hill, it's been a pleasure talking to you, but we really have appreciated it. Have a great holiday season and have a great 2016. All right.
Hey, thanks a lot.
Take care, Bob. Thanks
Bob.
a lot.
Yeah.
So that will do it for this weekend's edition of the Kosiski Auto Parts Legends of the Dirt series. Again, we thank Bob Hill for joining us on today's Legends of the Dirt series. Make sure you tune in next weekend for Lonnie Jensen. Then we're going to do Shane Carlson for the first show in 2016. We'll do the Bob Trussell Memorial Show as Doug Wolfgang, Stan Caesar. We're also getting a couple of other drivers and influential people who knew Bob to come on and talk about their history with Bob. Then Daniel Lasowski will join us. The dude, Daniel Lasowski, Larry Eckrich, Jim Wilson, Clayton Peterson, Gordy Blankenship, and we have a Zeitner family history show. So we did an interview with them a couple of months ago and talked about their history in dirt racing. So we'll get all of that lined up for you guys set to go. Thanks again to Adam Armstrong for joining us this morning and talking about his time at the 2015 track champion for Eagle Raceway and his time in his hobby stock and a little bit of a future for the Sport Mods. We'll see how he does in 2016. Join us next weekend as we'll talk with Mark Lighting, the Sport Mod champion for Eagle Raceway, and so much more. Make sure you tune in each and every Sunday for the front stretch. Dirk Houston, appreciate you joining me, sir. Always love having you in studio.
Yep, it wouldn't be the same without me, would it?
Absolutely not. I would definitely have more things wrong, which thank you for pointing those out, even though it makes me mad every time you do because I screw things up quite often, including the English language. If you missed any part of today's show, make sure you head over to YouTube. We post all the shows on YouTube, usually on Tuesday after the shows air here on AM 590. So this has been The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting at Council Bluffs on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.